here, right?
That's you. Yeah, so then when they'll push and it'll be green for them
Okay.
to speak.
Okay, so I'm mayor today.
Yes, you're mayor.
For those in the audience, I'm waiting for a quorum of site plan. All members of council are members of site plan. There are 9 members of council. 3 are here now. I'm waiting for 2 more, and they're just arriving. So I'm going to start with some introductions, and I'll begin on my left with Linda Travis, who's a senior planner, and Rick Nethery, who is director of planning, and Peter Neuhammer, who is the commissioner of development and infrastructure, and Dave Potter, who's chief building official, and Christina Bizance, who's councillor from Ward 7, Kelly Broom Plumley, councillor Ward 6, our mayor, Tony Van Bynen. My name is Dave Kerwin. I'm councillor for Ward 2, where one of the projects is going ahead, EMS. And on my right is Kim Pelham in the planning department. And on her right is Deputy Mayor John Taylor and Jean Twinney, councillor Ward 3. And I go to Ted Horton, who's now in the planning department, and Richard Wilson, who's here representing accessibility, and our CAO, Robert Shelton, and Chrisanne Finnerty, who will be taking the minutes as in the clerk's department. Did I make any mistakes? And in the audience, we have Rick Bingham from engineering, and we have Rachel Prudham, director of engineering, and we have Jason Unger, deputy planner. And on our agenda, we have our first presentation will be from Mike Walters. And before we begin, Deputy Mayor, do you have any music to play, Deputy Mayor?
I'll play it later.
Okay, so we're not going to play Paving Over Paradise and Building a Parking Lot today, okay? But nevertheless, Mike, would you continue? Thank you very much. And there's no peat under here. Is
None
that correct?
whatsoever.
Okay, good stuff.
Thank you very much, and thank you for entertaining our application. We're here today to talk about some exciting change to our parking lot. Yes, we are paving over a bit of paradise to expand our parking lot. Essentially, our project team, there's a staff from the authority with me today is Steve Auger, who is our engineer involved with all of the low-impact development, and Andrea Keeping, who's the project manager from CanDevCon Consulting Engineers and Planners. We've also had Henry Corticas and Associates, page down there, who is the landscape architect and arborist. GeoPro Consulting did our geotechnical and hydrological testing of the soils. So the project scope involves us expanding our parking area for a number of reasons. First and foremost is we are one of the strongest supporters of low-impact development within the Lake Simcoe watershed. And we have a parking lot primarily which has no low-impact development features whatsoever. So we must practice what we preach. So the idea was we knew there were improvements we needed to make to the parking lot. First and foremost was to reduce the environmental impact of that paved area. And we're looking at the installation of a number of low-impact development opportunities. Andrea is going to go into detail on those. The parking lot expansion has been needed for quite some time. We've been renting space from Ole Madsen's Garden Center for quite some time for our staff for overflow parking. We have limited client parking. We do have quite a few carpool spots, but staff have had to park in the lower parking lot at Madsen's to accommodate any meetings or changes with respect to staffing. As we grow, we have more people, so more people are forced off-site. So we've been looking at trying to expand the parking facility for some time. It's had a number of challenges, primarily the fact that we do have to remove some trees. And we've been managing as best we could the expectations of staff through the doing things like the carpooling and the transit. And it has reduced the time, or increased the time in which we've actually had to come now and ask for the expansion. The last part that we're really excited about, if we can do the low-impact development within our parking lot, it will provide that promotional and education outreach experience on site. So as we're talking to folks about putting in biofilters in their developments or soak-away trenches, pits, they'll be able to actually go outside and see some of the features in practice. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Andrea again. She's going to walk through the presentation and give you a bit more of a detailed picture of what we're proposing.
Thanks, Mike. You'll have to excuse me, I have a little bit of laryngitis today, but I'll try my best to project into the microphone. First, just an overview of what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to go through where the site is located and show you the proposed site plan, talk a little bit about the arborist assessment and the tree preservation plan, and then go into more detail on the opportunities for low-impact development measures and provide some examples of LIDs that are in our area already. So this is the site, 120 Bayview Parkway, which is north of Davis Drive and east of Main Street. The LSRCA owns the entire property right from Davis Drive. It's kind of an odd-shaped parcel, but the site plan application, the amendment, is dealing just with the parking area in front of the building, which is at the top. And I think I have a cursor here, just in this area here. So this is the proposed site plan. You can see in red, which is the proposed parking lot addition. There are a total of 8 spots proposed in this location, 6 here, 5 adjacent to the building, and 1 spot over here. People usually park here anyways. The plan has taken into account that there's actually a memorial garden in this area, so we're preserving these 2 trees there. And the plan also looks at improving emergency access. Currently, fire trucks need to come in and access the hydrant at the northwest corner, so they were having to do multi-turns to get in and out of the parking area. And so with this new drive aisle, it allows them to make access to that hydrant easily and come out the north entrance. So there's an existing 57 spaces, 5 visitor spaces, 4 barrier-free, which are up at the front of the building, as well as 2 electric parking spaces, which are also up at the front of the building, right here. And those will be maintained. And also of those spaces, there are 6 that are smart commuter spots. I believe they're along the driveway here. And there's 8 fleet vehicle spots, which are generally parked back here. So there might be some reorganizing of where those places are, but they will be maintained with the proposed site plan amendment. There will be a total of 5 spots that are lost, mainly in this area here, to accommodate the improved emergency access, but we are gaining 20 spaces, so for a total net parking of 83 spaces in the future. The arborist assessment that was undertaken by Henry Cordicus and Associates, we took this into consideration, and the site plan was developed to maximize the tree preservation on the property. There are quite a few poor, declining health or dead trees on the property that actually create a hazard under existing conditions that would have to be removed regardless of the proposed site plan amendment. But the proposed parking lot addition has taken that into consideration. The central treed area here, the trees are all in very good health, and so we maintain that and put the new parking spots here where the trees are in declining health. And the proposed landscape plan does propose these new trees here and along here in between the old parking lot and the new parking lot. Now, this is what the focus is of mainly of my work is the opportunities for low impact development design. The current parking lot doesn't really have any stormwater management for the parking lot drainage. There is an existing storm sewer system, an oil grit separator that treats kind of this lower parking area. But the north parking lot simply drains to the north, sheet drains over land, and there's no treatment for quality of those storm flows. And both drive aisles currently sheet drain directly to Bayview Parkway. So the intent will be to implement 5 LID measures throughout the site to treat stormwater management and provide opportunity for teaching. We will be monitoring the LID performance and using that as a tool. I'd like to note that the soils here are not conducive to infiltration, so it's also a good opportunity to show that to developers that your soils may not be conducive, but you can still implement LID measures and it will still treat your stormwater. It provides a detention function, retention, filtration, and then maybe over time you might get some infiltration, but it is possible to do it in a retrofit situation. We also want to look at a treatment train approach. So as I said, there's an existing oil grit separator. We're going to utilize that and send the new parking lot drainage through 2 LID measures, then through the oil grit separator out into the existing infrastructure on Bayview. Before I go to the next slide, I just want to add that in addition to the 5 LIDs shown here, that they're also considering permeable pavement in the new parking area, as well as heated walkways along the front of the building. And this will allow for reduced salt loading in the wintertime and still allow for safety for pedestrians. So I'm going to go through each of the LIDs that we're proposing here. And the first one is a small bioretention area next to the new proposed parking. Essentially, it will act to capture the flows from the parking lot and convey them to a storm sewer system under the driveway to another LID. This LID, in conjunction with a trench drain located on the driveway, will act to capture the existing flows which are currently going out to Bayview and take them through a treatment train for quality control. But it'll also provide detention for quantity control up to the 100-year storm for the additional parking lot. So that's just a diagram of the proposed detention, bioretention. The second LID is proposed in the northeast corner of the site. We are not proposing to do anything to the parking area here, but as I said before, the flows are currently sheet draining off into the woods and aren't receiving any stormwater treatment. So what we'll do is we will flatten the area, and the trees in this area, there are 4 trees that need to come down. They're a hazard, they're dead. And so we will flatten the ground, provide a small retaining wall and an infiltration bed so that the flows will spread out over a larger surface area and then potentially infiltrate and disperse through the wooded area as it does under existing condition. These are some examples of those types of LIDs, bioretention and flow spreaders, that are from southern Ontario. So a flow spreader and then some bioretention areas. The third LID is to be located along the Bayview Parkway right-of-way, and it will consist of a bioswale with an infiltration trench below it, so a surface and a subsurface component. It will tie into the existing storm sewer system, which is located at the south entrance. So the flows will come from the new parking area to the north, through a storm sewer, the trench drain, and then this bioswale and infiltration gallery. So allow the flows to filter through, be treated for quality, potentially infiltrate if the soils allow, and then be conveyed into an oil grit separator and out to the storm sewer system. The reason why the facility is located within the right-of-way was to minimize disturbance to the existing trees. There's some very large trees that are in very good health, so we didn't want to encroach and have to remove those trees. The fourth LID is on the south limit of the property, and it's going to be a surface bioswale. We had hoped that it would be a subsurface infiltration gallery as well, but the root zones from these trees hinder that. We wouldn't want to damage those trees. And so we've just done a surface bioswale to treat drainage from the roof area and the parking area adjacent to the building. So these are some examples of those types of LIDs, bioswales, in a parking area and also in a more landscaped area. And the last LID that we're proposing is a rain garden, which will be adjacent to the building on the south side. What's happening currently is flows from the roof are draining to an existing garden, but it doesn't allow for retention. And so the flows just sheet drain from hard packed soil right onto the walkway. They don't have any time to infiltrate, and it causes icing, and then they have to salt and sand. So the intent will be to build up a garden where there is potential for retention, have a sub-drain to carry water away that will connect into the existing storm sewer system. And then, as I mentioned earlier, they're looking at providing a heated walkway here as well.
Through solar.
Yes, through solar. So these are some examples of some rain gardens. Back over to Mike.
So just to wrap up, we've done our best to try to minimize the tree loss. We don't want to pave over paradise. We understand, and we will be compensating for the trees that are cut. And we're currently working up a plan as to where and how many. We're looking for easier access for our visitors, and client parking is really important to us. Staff, it's often difficult in our business dealing with clients when they come in because they've had to park 2 blocks away. It makes it a little more difficult. So definitely providing on-site parking for our clients and staff is important. We'll be leading examples for the low-impact development. Hopefully we'll be able to, through the monitoring program, demonstrate the benefits associated with this. And we're going to be linking the monitoring to our monitor that's up in the main lobby so people can actually see some of the results of what will be going on out in the front. And again, it's just that promotional educational opportunity with the development community who we have coming in all the time, and we are promoting very strongly site control first, end of pipe last. So, and this will allow for that research and development opportunity to look at how do LIDs work in the tight soils. We'll be maintaining these facilities in perpetuity as part of our asset management strategy. We've identified them, and there'll be monies put aside to ensure that they are maintained and that they function moving forward. So with that, I'd like to thank the committee for entertaining our application.
Just thank you, Mike Walters, and of course you are the Chief Administrative Officer of Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. In the audience, is there anyone who has any questions before I break it out for members of council and staff? Seeing none, members of council, are there any questions about this project? I'm sorry, Councillor Queen, Ward 3.
Thank you, Mike and Andrea. That's a great presentation. It's too bad we couldn't see more of these LIDs being put into place and other developments. So it's really interesting, and definitely is going to be a great learning experience for many people around. And just wondering, what is the time frame of when you're planning on, would it be spring when you would want to start doing the work on this? Is that, and what time, how long of a period of time would it take to complete this project?
I'll let Andrea answer that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're hoping to get through the site plan application process over the next 5 to 6 months, and then construction over the summer.
Okay.
We are monitoring baseline conditions, so there is work that's being done to monitor groundwater elevations, and that will continue through construction.
Okay.
But the intent is to be complete in 2016.
Okay, great. Just more of a question. I as the ward councillor for that area, I have regular ward meetings, and I often, they're always topic usually related. I'm wondering, would there be an opportunity, because there's going to be a lot of questions, as soon as anybody starts seeing something being dug up, they start thinking, there's buildings going in, what's going on. And I try to, let people know what's happening, but it would be a great opportunity perhaps for, I don't know if there's an opportunity for you to actually attend one of my meetings to sort of talk about the project and what you're doing, because I think it would be of great interest to many residents in the area to know what's going on and to see exactly, what can be done when something like this is implemented.
And we would love to attend, and my apologies. We will be holding, every time we do a project at the authority, we do try to involve the public, and especially anything around our office.
Right.
So we are going to be having a number of public open houses to
Great.
deal with this with the residents, because we understand as soon as you hear a chainsaw going,
Absolutely.
people are, what is happening? So
Great. So
we
that's-
definitely want to forewarn folks, but we'd be more than happy to
So
come
no,
out.
that would be actually, that would be probably the best way of doing it, is if you're having open houses there, and let me know when they are, and so I can attend and let people know through my newsletter that you'll be having them. So we'll coordinate that.
We definitely will.
It's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. Deputy Mayor John Taylor.
Thank you. So great presentation, and a lot of the LID work you're doing there looks pretty exciting. I'm sure your staff's excited about seeing this move forward as well. And I've parked there many times, and it's definitely can be very tight. And so I'm not surprised you're having to take this step. The two things, obviously one, not the only, but one big target for education around LID is the development community. And I know a PIC is normally about the public, but I wonder if there wouldn't be an opportunity to just notify some of the people in the development community that are active in the area to say, maybe you want to come out and just see what we're doing. The other question I had for you is about the heated sidewalks. And I had a feeling they were going to turn out to be solar, because obviously there's an issue there in terms of the environment otherwise. But I'm curious, can we maybe, as that goes on, get some information, even just through staff, about that and the impact on salt and the cost of doing it? Because depending on how cutting edge this is, to start to see, for example, the Tom Taylor Trail move in that direction eventually, I mean, it would be an added service level, frankly, if it was ice and snow free, but if it was also reasonably cost effective as you replace it, but it also reduces salt, and it also provides an accessibility advantage. So there's a lot of wins there, I think, potentially. It's just comes down to cost and effectiveness. And so if we could use this as a bit of a pilot for us to learn about cost and effectiveness of a solar approach to heated sidewalks or walkways, I think it'd be. So I would love to see us trying to learn from that as well.
And definitely through Mr. Chair, we will be doing a case study on the site. The monitoring results we're going to be publishing. So we can definitely keep council informed as to the progress. And the paved drain system, which we're looking at, which is solar powered. Last year we had a salt issue with our contractor, and we're one of the agencies, again, promoting smart about salt, and our own parking lot was white.
Right.
So we almost had to fire him and almost paid him so he wouldn't put salt down at one point, because they get paid with the amount of salt that they apply. Definitely, we see this as a great opportunity moving forward to showcase an initiative that would reduce salt use, especially for access. So we'll keep you informed.
And how long is this stretch that you're doing?
There's two stretches. There's an access to the rear part of the building, and then there's the section that's all along essentially the main front of the building.
Okay, so fairly good
So
length.
it's going to be fairly, as well as the entrance, obviously, in. So there's that long section there, and then there's a section in the back to the back door. So both we're already utilizing solar lighting. There's lots of opportunity here to put the panels up on the roof so that we can get the maximum benefit.
It'd be interesting to the degree with, after following this it's a success, we could look at a pilot project in the next year or two for the town and the right location there. Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Richard, do you have any comments? Here's the site planner on the accessibility committee. Do you have any comment or any questions?
I'm just concerned about the handicap access and reinstall the walkway. You're going to reinstall the walkway in front of the building, which is great, And if you're planning on heating that as well, is that the intent is to heat that area as well? But is there any thought being given to the surface levels with respect to the parking area and the sidewalk? Is there going to be a change in elevation? It's going to stay the same?
Yes. The
Okay.
grades across the parking lot, it's our intent through Mr. Chair to keep the grades across the entire area roughly the same, with the exception of making sure in the part of the lots that we're getting that water draining to some of the features. With respect to the front of the building, though, there would be no change in grade. Right now, all the drainage is running, unfortunately, towards Bayview Parkway from the entire site. So, yeah. So we're hoping that by having the rain garden adjacent to the building, we're going to intercept a lot of that water that now is icing up the walkway. The walkway itself, right now it's a small cobble brick paver. These are much larger and they're much flatter. So from an accessibility point of view, they're much easier actually for wheelchair access than what we've got there now, which is a bit bumpy. So it would be definitely an improvement in our eyes. So the grades would stay the same. There should be no problems in accessing the building whatsoever.
Because in the diagrams, I didn't see any measurements or, any dimensions of any sort, so it was hard to make an assessment as to what are the issues there. So I would ask that information be provided.
Sure.
Okay, so that we can sign off on that as from our perspective.
Are there any more questions or anything from staff? Do I have a recommendation from members of site plan? Regional Councillor 3, in which this is located. Jane, your recommendation?
Vote to refer to staff is
Is there,
normal procedure.
okay, that's in the staff, and the seconder for that? Councillor Christina Bazans from Ward 7. Any other questions? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Andrea. Great.
Thank you very much.
Our second presentation is application for site plan approval to permit the construction of a new EMS facility having a gross floor area of 672 square meters, an associated 20-space parking lot, and is it Chris Kubings?
Sorry, Chris Kabinga?
Yep.
And, sorry, go ahead, Vikas.
Okay. Thank you, Chair and Council members. My name is Vikas More. I represent Property Services branch of York Region, and I'm project lead on this specific project. I have with me today Thomas Brown Architects, Chris Kabinga, who is the principal architect, and Tim Balsam, who is the deputy chief from our EMS. And just to start with, I can give a brief of this project. This is part of our 10-year capital plan of York Region, and this is one of the 2 EMS stations being planned in Newmarket itself. And this is a 7,000 square feet facility. It's a lead building, and with 6 bays for ambulances. So that's a basic project idea. I'll leave it to Chris to take us to the next detail.
Okay, well, Vikas, that pretty much wraps it up. What we're looking at here is, as Vikas has noted, this is one of 2 EMS stations that are being proposed in the town of Newmarket. This one's located at 415 Harry Walker Parkway South, which on the context map you can see here. This is obviously 404 in Mulock, and Harry Walker Parkway runs in a north-south direction. This red box is where the station is proposed to be built. Now, it is part of a larger site, which is also slated for community development as well. This shows what could be termed the ultimate site plan, with the EMS station being located up in this corner here. There will be a proposed police facility that will be constructed in and around our site. And then there's a snow management, snow dumping facility that's proposed for the back. In terms of the overall timeline for the development, this is the first development that's going to take place on the site, with the other 2 projects following. Certainly the snow management facility will follow quite closely, and then the police sometime after. What we have here is just a really quick rendered site plan. So really we're building in the corner of a much larger site. And so what we're dealing with here is that there will be a dedicated entrance and exit path from the EMS facility located through here. And then there will be a shared driveway which will allow the EMS vehicles to circulate in. And just so everyone understands how the vehicles flow through the site, they will come up this lane here, turn in through, and set up, come back through the bay, and then respond out in this direction here, all back onto Harry Walker Parkway. The facility is 6 bays, divided into 3 bays double depth, and we'll see that on the plan coming up. These are obviously circulation routes for vehicular circulation within the site. There is parking. There's a barrier-free parking space located conveniently right near the main entrance, which we can see on subsequent slides. And then there's largely staff and visitor parking here with an additional 3 spaces off to the left. Due to the nature of the site is about an acre. It is appropriately sized for a development of this type, but it is obviously got a number of constraints with regards to the adjacent development. So what we've sought to do is provide opportunities for landscaping and some decorative surfacing wherever possible. There's also flagpoles that will be located on the site, and this small area here is where the proposed location of the hydro transformer to service the building. These are elevations, obviously, of all 4 sides of the building. The building itself is actually a contemporary design. As a firm, we have a depth of experience in emergency services. We do a lot of them. And most of our design approach is informed by the fact that we consider emergency services to be one of the most sophisticated services a community can provide for itself. And therefore, we tend to extend that into the design of the building. So what we're looking at here is this is the street elevation, which is at the top. The station is somewhat unique in the sense that we've provided full glazing in the vehicle bay, which is where the ambulances are housed. The main entrance is located under a canopy here, and then this is the crew quarters. The whole building is going to be clad in a metal panel, which is very clean and very sort of precise, I guess, for lack of a better term. This elevation here is on the side of the vehicle bays themselves. That's a small exit door required for code purposes. The rear of the building is done in brick, and obviously these are the 3 bays where the ambulances will come back upon return. And then when we get to the floor plan, I'll explain that there is provisions here for oxygen bottle drop-off, utility rooms, garbage rooms, and things like that, and that's also located through here. And this is the other elevation, which is obviously the EMS bays in the back, and then in the front, that's the crew quarters. So when we're looking at here from a perspective, again, we've tried to keep the organization relatively simple in order to give a very clear and strong identity to the building. With the glazing in the front, the ambulances will be highly visible from the street, and correspondingly the crew quarters not so visible, because that is where people will do their day-to-day activities, such as filing reports, or in any downtime sort of use those facilities as part of the daytime tasks. In the back here, again, this is brick with the EMS base coming back in. This actually gives a good view of where the vehicles will circulate in, around behind the building, and back through out to the front. The floor plan is obviously relatively straightforward and simple. Given that it's an EMS facility, we always design these facilities with a clear delineation between what we consider dirty and clean. So the vehicle bays and all the ancillary spaces are located on this side of this main wall here, including a couple touchdown washrooms and walk-off mats. Past this point here, this is the main crew quarters, which are in here. It's very simple, very clean, very touchless, meaning that we don't have a lot of doors, we don't have a lot of enclosed rooms. It's a free-flowing space, which tends to work best for its use. This is the principal entrance coming out here. The barrier-free parking space is actually located right here adjacent. Coming in, there's a main circulation hallway with a view out to the exterior here at the end of the corridor, and this is the door that comes directly into the bay. This is the kitchen facilities. This is a lounge area for staff. There's a write-up room here, which also has a connection out to an exterior patio, which is located in this area here, and these are the main washroom facilities. So it's a unisex locker room with a male and a female washroom, both of which are compliant to the current guidelines of the AODA. That is the crew area. In the back here, this is the medical storage room, which we consider ancillary to the actual bays themselves, and an oxygen storage and replenishment room here. There's an exterior garbage room, meaning that all garbage will be kept inside the building at such time that it is picked up. And accessible from the exterior also is the utility room here. This fence here is a screen for a generator. So the building is designed to post-disaster standards, and in the event of power outages, it's equipped to run full on to maintain service levels to the community. That pretty much rounds it out at this point, if anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who has any questions? Okay, thank you. Members of council, staff, questions? Deputy Mayor John Taylor.
So, first of all, am I correct that this is a LEED Silver building?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. The other quick question I had was, is it Vicus?
Yes.
Yeah. I've raised this before with staff at the region, but I have a feeling it hasn't percolated down, so I'll warn you, this isn't necessarily a 100% related to what you have in front of us today. But the site, if you can go to the overall site with full build out. Yeah. Great. So this site anticipates the potential for a police station,
Right.
and the potential for snow
Disposal.
is the word we're using in Melting Pond. What I brought up before was, and I really would like to pursue the opportunity. I'm worried if it waits and waits, we'll lose the opportunity to at least analyze and examine this property. So whether it can be done now or not, but there's some great examples in Ontario of. And this is where I'll warn you, this is coming out of left field, but some great examples of skateboard parks associated with police facilities or other facilities of this nature.
Okay.
And would really love to see the opportunity and the chance to explore the possibility here. When I look at the back of the regional police space, there's some parking back there, and the closer to the building, my understanding, the better for the synergies that one might find from a skateboard park close to such a thing. Now I know the rest of the site moves forward later, but I'm wondering if how to get this on the table or get some feedback on the possibility of this. The other thing I can't help but think is that, well, it will be tricky, but maybe a more creative mind than mine could look at the possibility that snow disposal area, I would suspect, is utterly vacant in the summer months. And is there an opportunity somehow, possibly even there, to combine the two?
I'll definitely note it and talk to my senior officials and come back to you on this.
Okay, so would it be possible to receive back either through staff or emails
Definitely.
how we would go about exploring this
Sure.
opportunity?
We'll explore this, definitely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, do I have a recommendation? Mayor? Good. Is there a seconder?
Specifically, it doesn't waive the PIAC because it's even better. Richmond Hill is a good example of the snow disposal unit, and we turned into a skateboard park center, be a good reference point for it.
Good. Christina, you're seconding it? Thank you. Christina Bazance, Board 7. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's it. Could I have any other questions?